That's okay. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. We are reading the book of Vijay Gupta about Hirkan Baba, My Years with the Himalayan Mystic. It's a beautiful book of life experiences with the Master. We are in chapter 53 and it's called Lost in the Woods. After staying in Vrindavan for a few days, Babaji thought it was time to go back to Hirakan. Hirakan is the place where Babaji stayed most of the time, and this is also connected to his name, Hirakan Baba. On the way, I remarked, Prabhu, you stay a lot in Vrindavan. He responded, Birju, there are a lot of devotees who cannot come to Hirakan. I go to various places and stay at Vrindavan to fulfill their desire for darshan. This time we stayed with Ram Prakash Basiraji in Haldwani. The Basin family were devout followers of Babaji. Here too, all the local devotees congregated for his darshan. The next day we went to Hirakan via Vijaypur Chowk. Babaji had very soft feet despite the fact that he has walked barefoot for many years. I remember him walking barefoot to Mount Kailas too. The devotees who accompanied him also went unshed. He told them that they could wear shoes or slippers, but they refused. Babaji laughed and said, Well, the number of stones that hurt your feet will be directly proportional to the number of your sins that are destroyed. One day he said, Birju, I want to go to Siddheswar. Nath Nayanan performed their austerities there. Siddheswar was on the other side of the Adi Kailash in Hirakan. He turned to his devotees and asked, Who wants to come with us? Was it possible that any devotee would refuse? They all said they did. People from Hirakan village also agreed to go. Chandan Singh, his father Govardhan Singh, Harak Singh, Chandramani and his sons all said they would accompany him on the trek. Babaji said, We will stay there for the night. I took some fruits, clothes and chandan and we started the trek to Siddheswar. Chandra Muniji's house was on the way. We had breakfast there. He had not brought milk and curd to Hirakan for Babaji that day, so he drank some milk there and then we resumed our trek. We reached Siddheswar at around 4 in the evening. Many devotees from nearby villages were already there to welcome us with yogurt, milk and fruits. Several fires had been lit. Beds of grass had been laid on several places. Devotees gratefully sat down on them. A separate grass bed had been made for Babaji near a small temple. I placed his asan on it, which I had carried with me all the way from Hirakan. A meal of aloo puris had been cooked for all of us in copious quantities by local devotees. Chandramunji had apparently relayed the news of Babaji's arrival beforehand. The burning fires chased away the cold, and the kirtan began. At 8 p.m., Babaji ordered everyone to eat. I went to fetch his milk and gave it to him in a steel luchia, a small drinking vessel. A retired 17-year-old railway guard, Gandashaya Met, who was a devotee of Mahendra Maharaj, had come along with us for the trip. Babaji said, Birju, you and the guard sleep here near me. Medji and I lay down on the grass. Despite the open sky, the bonfire kept us warm. In the morning, I bowed to Babaji and prepared to head for my bath. He was just about to sit in meditation when he stopped me. There is no need to take a bath here. The pure air here cleanses a person. Later in the morning, after everyone was up and about, Babaji said we should get ready to go back to Hirikam. Local devotees had arranged tea for everyone. We had some, and then at around 7 a.m. we commenced on our return journey. Babaji said, Birju, you stay close to Medji. He handed the old man a stick and said, hold this and come down slowly. I walked down slowly with the guard, keeping as close a watch on him. He was elderly and the descent was a struggle for him. Babaji went ahead with the other devotees close on his heels. Age apart, Guard Sahib was also weak. Gradually, Babaji and the others disappeared from sight. The entire trek to Siddheswar was densely forested. After trudging across the wooded trail for a long time, we took off on the wrong path and lost our way. At some point, it dawned on us that we had gone astray. The fear of encountering some wild animal started preying on our minds. Why don't we go towards the river? I suggested to Medji. He was open to the idea. I parted the shrubbery with a stick to carve out a path, and we pressed ahead through the woods at a snail's pace. He was tiring out. The walk was obviously taking a toll on him. At some places we almost slipped over the slopes and only escaped rolling over by the skin of our teeth. At others, we had to turn back because there was no proper pathway. And there were some spots where we had to brave thickets of thorns that left scratches on our legs and feet. We still forged ahead stoically. I sent up a silent prayer to Babaji, entreating a rescue, unaware that he had already figured out that we were lost. He had worked out our location and had dispatched Govardhan Singh to fetch us. In the meanwhile, invoking his name, we trekked onward and finally landed on the banks of the river at about 3 p.m. Just then, I espied Govardhanji at a distance. Our nightmare was over. I hailed him loudly and he greeted us cheerfully, very pleased to see us. He brought us up to date. Babaji had been very worried about us. He had waited at Chandramanji's house for a long time before dispatching Govardhanji to find us. He had left for Hirikam Ashram after issuing the following instruction. Stay here and wait. Bring them to the ashram when you find them. The rest of the walk was relatively easy as Govardhanji was familiar with the route. Babaji was waiting for us at the ashram. He laughed when he saw us and asked, Where have you been? When I narrated the tale of our adventure, he said, That's why we left you with the guard. I responded philosophically. I knew it was all your lila. Metji addressed Babaji with folded hand. Prabhu, I will not go on any journey from now on. I will serve you while staying at Hirakan. The guard was a very honest and kind man who insisted on donating his entire pension to the ashram. On many occasions, Babaji tried to forbid him, but he would pay no heed. All he would say was, "It's all yours." Guard Sahib used to keep track of all the labor and any work that was done at Hirakan. He also took care of all the transactions. Babaji offered him a small room to live in front of the mausoleum. Now he is no longer there. When Babaji traveled, Medji would stay back and look after the Havan. One day Babaji said, "Birju, you have too much work on your plate. You are not only cooking for those in the ashram, but also for the sadhus who come here. You even have to sweep the place when there are no devotees. Why don't we employ someone to help you in your work?" I said, "Okay." It was 1973. That evening, Prabhu caught hold of a timber contractor and said, "We need a good person for the ashram." A number of Nepali laborers, worked for him. The following day, the contractor brought Man Singh and said, "Babaji, this person is from my community. Please employ him." Babaji called me and said, "Birju, keep this person with you. He will help you. Teach him how to work." Mansingh turned out to be a great find. He was very hardworking and courageous. He started helping me with my work. He stayed on at Hirakan Ashram and served it with great devotion. He lives there even today after his retirement. It's very hard to find an honest and hardworking person like him in this day and age. He stayed with Babaji as long as he was in his body. Bole Baba ki jai.
Jai. Ambaji, you have the book also?
Yes, I do.
Maybe you would like to read a chapter.
Okay. Better without the camera. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I am reading the chapter 54 to the village of Danyan and back. Babaji and I went to a village called Danyan in Almora with some devotees in Tao. Shashiji was also with us. The approach to the village was difficult, as it went through some very unfriendly mountainous terrain, ascending almost all the way to the Chitai temple. From there, it sloped down to a river that had to be crossed. On the other side, another upward ascent began through a mud track that went right up to what appeared to be a hamlet to my unappreciative eyes. There was a small settlement here where Fakiranandji's elder brother Dilip Ranan lived. Fakiranandji himself worked in Delhi, and a Srimad Devi Bhagavatam Katha has already taken place there under Babaji's watchful eye at his residence in Inderpuri in 1971. A lot of people from the Pusa Institute had come for Babaji's darshan, one of them being Ved Prakash Tiwari, christened Mahant Baba by Babaji, who traveled from place to place to serve him. I remember once when he came to Vrindavan, Babaji asked him to get his head tonsured. Ved Prakashji tried to duck his orders, but his wife objected. How can you ignore Babaji's orders? You must obey him. Ved Prakashji finally yielded and unenthusiastically went and had his head shaved. Everyone could see that his heart was not in it. Now he has built a temple dedicated to Babaji in Janakpuri, and it's still serving him. He has even written books on Babaji. In Danyan, I think Fakiranandji's house had 14 rooms. More could not be built. There is an interesting mystery attached to this. On the first floor, there was a room for Babaji, which overlooked a small veranda where bedding had been laid for Shashliji and me. Nearby, there was a spring where we used to go and bath. Very close to it, the family deities were said to live in a sacred space. Pouring out his woes to Babaji, Farkiraji told him that an evil soul had started haunting the place and it was hindering the prosperity of the family. No additional constructions could be made to this house. In the morning, Babaji went to the spring for a bath, and I started preparing the chandan. After staying in Danyan for a few days, we went back to Harakan. On the way, Shasliji composed a couplet and began to recite it to Babaji. Danya Danya Danyan, Jahan Mile na Supari Pan, Jahan Pragate, Ranaji Jaise Bhakt Mahan. Bless, bless Danyan, where you get neither betel nut nor betel leaf, but where appear great devotees like Ranaji. Babaji burst out laughing. It tickled our funny bones so much that we kept singing the couplet repeatedly till we reached the ashram. Those were the days when the temple at Naula Raniket had not been built. After we reached Harakan, Babaji headed to the cave for his evening bath. There will be as many devotees here one day, Birju, as there are stones in the river, he said as he left. He had said this to me once before. We had just arrived at Harakan. I knew his words would come true, and they did. The number of devotees visiting Harakan grew so large that several tents had to be pitched by the river. There came a time when every time I turned, I encountered a devotee. Shashiji went off to a Rajgarh from Haldwani, and after some time we left for Vrindavan. There too, the story was the same, and we kept encountering an unending influx of devotees. Among those who converged to meet Babaji was Vijay Bhatiani, a devout disciple of Babaji who frequently dropped in from Delhi to meet him. On this occasion, he had brought along Dr. S.K. Lal and his wife, Bimla Mataji, for Babaji's darshan. After introducing them to Babaji, he also went to Madhuan. Vijayji had a quiet disposition and spoke even less than Babaji did. His affection for me was tremendous, and his wife Miraji too was very fond of me. In fact, his entire family had a soft spot for me. He treats me with the same warmth even today.
Thank you, Amba. I will read also a chapter. It's chapter 55, a new Leela. It was December 1973, a new Leela was about to begin in my life. One day my mother came to Vrindavan and started crying. She told Babaji, I do not want my son to become a Baba. My spirit resides in him. I was the youngest in the family. My father and an elder sister had died when I was a child. My two elder brothers and elder sister were married, and also had one sister who was still single and who often wept because she missed me. I was saddened by my mother's distress and felt very conflicted. On one hand, there was Lord Herakan, whom I venerated and did not want to leave, and on the other hand, there was my mother, who had given birth to me. Lord Herakan told her, "Go for now, we'll do something soon." She had come with my brother Shivtaran, who was extremely devoted to Babaji. He was also very unique in his thought process. He did not want me to leave Babaji. Babaji did not say anything on that first day. The next day, however, he summoned me to his room and said, "Birju, what have you thought? Your mother's sad face has been haunting us." I was torn and confused. I wondered if my salvation would be possible without him. Should I tell him that my time with him was at an end? There was a part of my mind which was turning towards home. I was still in a dilemma when Babaji said, "Birju, do not be disappointed. You are always with us. We are saddened by the agony of your mother. Go home and serve her. You can always keep on visiting us. Our blessings will always be with you. How fortunate you are to have served us at this young age." He took out a bundle of clothes and some money and said, "Birju, keep this, as it will be useful." I folded my hands and said, "These offerings have been made by your devotees. Would it even be proper for me to accept them from you? I want nothing but your blessings." Babaji laughed and said, "We are expecting nothing else from you." I came out of his room and graved. I packed my things, took leave of the other devotees, and went back to Bharatpur. It was my good fortune he wrote about 31 great personalities, like Vikramaditya in his incarnation. He has described whatever was with him in his modern day Leela in the Satshiv Charit Amrit in Sudakalas. In couplet number 558, Babaji has written about me. Vidyapati Sri Vijayji Karin Sada Gungan Priye Sevak Prabhu Ke Pratam Chela Maha Mahan, meaning Sri Vijay always praises Vidyapati, the Lord Shiva. He is the prime servitor of the Lord, dearly beloved to him. He is very great. Okay, thank you for your attendance today. We will continue next week.